want to welcome everybody who's here. Quite the group. I think that a conversation about smart cities is a conversation about technology, a conversation about change and innovation, or about talent and the future is the kind of conversation that you come to Austin to have. You know, when I got here in 1978, there were only two tall buildings downtown. There was the gold building and the black building, and you gave direction to everything by triangulating off those two buildings. And today, you can't see those two buildings. And the gold building isn't gold anymore if you're looking for it. But they're small buildings now. This is a city, Austin, Texas, that is, census numbers just came out, is the fastest growing metropolitan area in the country. And it has been for the last 5 years. And it's growing about 15% faster than number 2. It was 30% faster than number 2 a year ago. This is a community that is on fire in terms of growth. You know, the reason why smart city technology is important to this city is not because it's just the way of the future or it's a good idea. It is important to this city because it is existential to Austin, Texas. When you grow as rapidly as Austin, Texas has grown, you have pretty significant challenges as a city. Our infrastructure challenges, our mobility challenges in particular, and what mobility challenges are doing to affordability in this city are extreme. Austin, Texas, if you ask my 3 girls, is the cool city. In fact, I was standing next to Bill de Blasio last year, and he leaned over to me at one point and he said, you know, Austin, Texas may be the only city in the country that's cooler than New York. I told him I was going to repeat that. And here I am in front of the camera, and he asked me if I heard him say maybe. But we are. But there is nothing worse than being the city that used to be the cool city. And you can go around this country and find the cities that used to be the cool city. And best as I can tell, the cities that used to be the cool cities only have a music museum downtown. We are the live music capital of the world. Yeah. But we will only stay the live music capital of the world to the degree that we continue to have musicians and music venues in our city. But we are growing so rapidly that people can't move around this city, so everybody needs to move downtown. And when everybody moves downtown, then the supply is not there for the demand, and housing prices go up. We have great gentrification in this city. You know, there are 2 things that I take credit for in this city. You know, new mayor, I've been in office for a year. When I came into office, our lakes were only 30% full. People were coming to us with billion-dollar proposals to tap into aquifers east of here. The first thing that I did as mayor is I filled up the lakes. Right? Thank you. Pretty awesome, huh? The other thing that we've been able to accomplish this year is that we have lowered the poverty rate in this city. And we deserve as much credit for that as we do filling up the lakes. Because we haven't taken anyone out of poverty, we have merely exported our poverty to the surrounding cities, to Bastrop, to Kyle, to Buda. Figuring out mobility, being the smart city, is not something that would be nice. In Austin, Texas, it is existential. Because we do not have the ability to solve our mobility problems in this city the way that mobility problems have been solved over time and in other cities. We have to be smarter and cleaner and more innovative and more clever in order to be able to find the solutions in Austin. So I wanted to touch briefly on the Smart City Challenge. We were very lucky to be one of 7 cities that have made the finals for that challenge. You all are probably aware of that. $50 million, $40 million coming from the Department of Transportation, $10 million coming from Vulcan and Paul Allen, $50 million. That $50 million prize is a small, small part of what this challenge is about. This challenge is about that $50 million being leveraged 3, 4, 5, who knows how many times. It is about focusing on smart, new technologies in order to solve mobility issues. I'd like to think, and I hope, that Austin, Texas is the place where this ought to happen, because for several reasons. Not only is it existential to us, but also this is a city that is already moving in that direction. This is a city that's already doing innovative, creative, cutting edge, clean things. All you have to do is take a look at Austin Energy, which I am very proud of, and I understand is standing somewhere in this room. Austin Energy, got to a place where we were at 28% of our portfolio as renewable. This past year, we looked at increasing the solar that we had. We ordered another 425,000 kilowatt. That's going to get this city up to over 40% of renewables, well on the way to a goal of 55% renewables by the year 2025. At every stage in the process, we were being told in the industry that you couldn't do that and couldn't sustain that, and business models wouldn't work that way. And thus far they have. This is a city that, with respect to mobility now, is pushing for the Smart City Challenge, and our proposal has lots of participants throughout Central Texas. We have Texas A&M that's participating with its Traffic Institute. San Antonio is participating with the Southwest Research Institute. The University of Texas is in. And we have the ability to form a research triangle focused on mobility, unlike anything that exists anywhere else in the country. We have on our streets, as we speak, Google cars, driverless cars, automated cars that are driving the roads in our city. It's pretty exciting. We first launched that quietly, trying to be as good a test market for that as we could be, which means we don't pass regulations which would stop that from happening, coordinating with our public safety folks in our city. It was going pretty good, and then one day the transportation writer for the Statesman was getting ready to pull up to a stop sign. It was about 50 feet out, and he saw his first Google car. Pretty excited, so he stopped about 50 feet from the intersection as the Google car stopped. And he stopped and he just looked at it, and the Google car didn't move because the Google car was really confused at that point because he had stopped so far back. And after waiting patiently the appropriate amount of time, the Google car said, well, that car is parking or something. So he started to take off the same time that the transportation writer for the Statesman started moving, because now he's going to the intersection. And as soon as he saw the Google car start and the Google car saw him start, the Google car stopped. So he stopped. and then he waited for the Google, and then he went and he realized he could play with the Google car. Which is bad enough, except that in the column that he wrote the next day, he told the entire city how you play with Google cars. But for that, we try to be a great place for that technology. This is a city that is having GM and Lyft working on a driverless program. We have a Ford lease share program that's about to be tested in this city. We have Cars to Go in this city, launched North America operation in this city. And we have Ride Scout in this city, which was one of the first aggregator apps, so that you go to one place and on your phone you can find what your transportation and mobility options are. As part of the Smart City Challenge, we want to take all those things and put them on steroids. There's a lot more that could be done in terms of testing the ability and the constraints with driverless vehicles. There's a lot more that could be done with ride sharing. Vans that carry 8 people that are autonomous, being routed by a computer that people can get in and out of. You know, the real attraction for me for that kind of technology is not just the cars, it's really what it can do for mass transportation. Because as soon as we have driverless buses or we reach that level, then the economics of that whole operation changes in real fundamental ways. We're going to make a proposal that one of the cornerstones of it is big data, using the computer system that exists at the University of Texas. It's one of the, unlike all but one or two systems in the world in terms of accumulating and processing massive amounts of data and then open sourcing that data so that not only the folks that you think are going to come up with the good ideas, but like at a community of Austin, the people who you don't know can come up with great ideas, can come up with those ideas. You know, we're a city that has more startups starting per capita than any city in the world right now. And there is a different way that those folks think than my generation thinks. They problem solve in an iterative way that is unlike how my generation solved problems. And the reason that works so well in this city is that going back to when I got here in the 70s, this has always, it's the city where all the hippies came to. You know, it was a laid-back place. It was the people who went to the University of Texas. Austin was the city where 20-somethings went to retire. But what that means is there was a culture in this city that was laid back and creative. It used to be about music, now it's about tech. But in this city, it was always okay to fail. Always okay to fail. And there are not many cities like that in the world. But if you want to innovate, you have to be prepared to fail. In fact, if you look at most of the new companies that are forming in this city, these startups, their business model is based on failing as many times as they can, as quickly as they can, so that they can learn as much as they can. Because they have, like my 24-year-old daughter, who, like any great Austin child, now has 16 employees and is monetizing her startup. She has 12 months to hit her mark. And the way she's going to hit her mark is to keep trying things and learning from them, failing, trying something, learning from it, failing. That is cultural in this city. It is in our DNA in this city. And that's why you see, I think, the innovations that you see here. So this is an early adopter city. This is a city that puts a great value on tech in this city. We have great corporate partners that are participating in this Smart City Challenge. Large companies, Google, Apple, large companies that are participating in this, they come here because their employees, the ones they want to hire, want to live in this city because of that culture. Austin, Texas represents 7% of the population of the state of Texas. And we represent a little over a third of the patents in the state and a little over 50% of the venture capital. This is a city that a lot of people call weird, but what is weird to some is home to that kind of creative mindset. We're real excited about this Smart City Challenge and the opportunity that presents. But more than excited, we are hoping that we are able to get that challenge. But whether we get that challenge or not, Austin, Texas is going to have to do the same program because we have to become smarter for two reasons. We have that farm system, that culture, those companies, that mindset in our city. But secondarily, second reason, but primarily, for Austin, Texas, if you have driven in our city at rush hour, you know it is existential. I am real happy that you guys are here, enjoying the city. Make sure that you get out to have some music.
Yes.
Make sure that you get to stop by a food truck or two. They were invented in Austin, as was the breakfast taco. Excuse me. Maybe we didn't invent them, we just made them better. But I hope that you enjoy the city, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Mayor Adler.